warning. This is a movie discussion as well as a movie review. There are lots and lots of spoilers. So Wonder Woman. Before I start though, I have a quick disclaimer of sorts. I choose to review movies independently of their source material, whatever book, comic, TV show, whatever it came from. I don't care. Movies should really stand on their own. And there are a lot of movies people don't even realize were books first, like The Godfather, Jaws, The Princess Bride. So I really try not to use source material as a frame of reference. Just want to put that out there. So Wonder Woman is the fourth, I believe, film in the DC EU franchise. That would be the DC Extended Universe, for those of you who don't know. So the first and foremost, our leading lady, Gal Gadot. Of course, she still looks good in the role. We saw her, she was introduced in Batman versus Superman, and she still looks, great in the costume as Wonder Woman. But how was her performance? I thought she was very good at capturing the innocence of Wonder Woman, having been isolated from the world and whatnot. She also captured the fierceness and fearlessness, but sometimes her facial expressions came off as a little too stiff and emotionless for me. Like she was just trying a little too hard, just a little, the acting. And she didn't really look like the Amazon women from her island. I mean, all that flipping and training, and she needed some more muscles. Everybody else got muscles. She needed some muscles too. But I think overall she does a good job. I give her a B minus. So observations. I'm going to kind of flag the likes and dislikes as I go along here. So number one, the very first thing I'm going to say about this movie is a dislike. Queen Hippolyta, she didn't want young Diana to train or learn who she was. First of course, little Diana wanted to train with her Amazon sisters. Hell, I did too, watching them do all that shit they was doing. But I would have liked to see her encourage Diana from the beginning, or at the very least, don't let her go off searching for Ares without telling her who or what she is. She's just like, oh, let her figure it out for herself. No. You let your toddler figure out how to open his crayon box for himself. If I'm Wonder Woman on a mission to kill a god, how about you tell me I'm the fucking god killer? Don't have me out here looking like a damn fool. Got all this confidence in a sword that Ares turned to ashes by touching it. He probably could have did the same thing by looking at it. Number two, so Diana secretly trains with her aunt anyway. And it takes her mom like 8 years to find out. And she's like, no, stop this shit right now. Then after like 6 seconds of convincing, she goes from, hell no, she can never train, to, okay, fine. Just make sure you train her to be even better than you, though. Okay, whatever. Number three, so Zeus has hidden the Amazons on an island with Themyscira, which is basically just surrounded by fog somewhere in the ocean. And here comes Steve crash landing in the water with the Germans right behind him, who I'm supposed to believe kept up with him in his plane on their goddamn boats. And the Amazons, they're all up on the cliff. And they see Diana standing there with Steve, and they don't immediately light his ass up with fire arrows. I call bullshit. And he's a man too. They would have lit his ass up, literally, and asked questions later. So the Amazons spring into their super graceful manner of fighting. They make it look so easy. But they've never seen guns before. And I'm thinking, this won't end well for them. Truthfully, they would have had fewer casualties if someone had ordered them to fall the fuck back a notch or two. You can still fight. Just stop charging their asses. Number four. So Steve, with a little nudge from the lasso of truth, is like, yeah, there's a war and I'm a spy, but I'm a good one. Okay, whatever. Dislike here. I hated Chris Pine in this role. I can't even fully explain why. He just looks funny and he's not tough. And there was zero chemistry with him and Wonder Woman. And any time, the plot looked like it was crossing that line, or when they did, it didn't come off as authentic. I just don't think he was right for this role. Number five. So how convenient that a German spy is the only person who ever found them on this island. A war is literally Diana's dream come true. She's convinced that Ares is behind this war. So Ares, who later proclaims he's the god of truth, is initially referred to as the god of war. And he's also the reason the men are at war with each other because he's a shit starter, which is why I prefer to call him the god of haters. He hates mankind and he just wants them to kill themselves for no fucking reason. He says, oh, they're bad people, but according to the story that Hippolyta told Diana, he made them that way. And Diana wants to go eliminate him because that's what she was born to do, whether she knows that or not. Number 6. So Steve is kind of sort of held prisoner, and Wonder Woman starts, I don't know, training herself. She's leaping from building to building and bopping around. Aside from that and almost killing her aunt with an accidental shockwave, I would have liked to see her practice and come into her powers a bit more, and just learn to gain control of them. And that's a dislike also, because she's awfully confident when it's time to fight. And I'm not 100% sure why. She's had a few, hand-to-hand combats and stuff. But for somebody who never even saw a gun until like yesterday, she doesn't understand. She doesn't know what she's up against. And her confidence level was too damn high. Like when she went up against the Germans at No Man's Land, luckily they just conveniently didn't bother to do anything but shoot directly at her shield for 5 minutes. She had just realized she had powers. She doesn't even know she's a demigod at that point, and she's out here doing the absolute most. Number 7, Diana leaves with Steve, and she ends up in Britain. And we just have this brief string of scenes, showing how there's some obvious, I guess you could call them cultural differences, and how Wonder Woman refuses to listen to Steve. There's a little humor during these scenes. It wasn't too long and drawn out like I was afraid it would be. I will say that by the end of the movie, her refusal to listen to anything Steve suggests got a bit old. And just her, overall being super naive. I guess her rebellion came in handy sometimes, but I mean, she wouldn't listen for shit. And it was just kind of annoying. Number 8, so Steve puts together this motley crew, and they overall were a dislike for me. There was Charlie, and he was the marksman that ain't shoot shit and looked like he was inspired by Drop Dead Fred. The chief, the Native American guy, he was, all he did was just say his lines, when it was time to say them. No emotion. There was no actual acting taking place. I really don't see what purpose he served, just to be stereotypical and send smoke signals and shit. Ultimately, I guess they were going for comedy with this crew, but this was a big F on their part. There was an opportunity here, but no. And I did like his secretary, though. She was kind of funny, naturally funny, just, as far as supporting characters go. Number 9, the motley crew makes its way to infiltrate the Germans and do so with total ease. Wonder Woman finally meets Ludendorff face to face, and she still thinks he's Ares, so she's strapped with her god killer. I never thought Ludendorff was Ares. He was clearly not a god. He needs magic crack to get his powers. Tragically underwhelming powers at that. And they did everything to make you think it was him, of course. He was just outlandishly evil. He killed his own people for trying to end the war. But I still didn't think he was, Ares, the main villain. He wasn't powerful enough. And it was taking Ares so long to show up, I didn't think he was going to. So you can take that as a dislike. Number 10, so Wonder Woman defeats Ludendorff, and she thinks that all the Germans are like hypnotized by him. And she's confused when they're still like plotting, their evil even after he died. And then the real Ares just pops up out of nowhere. And I'm like, really? Like, this dude seriously just came out of nowhere as the villain. In hindsight, yeah, he pretended to be against the war and also wanted to keep a close eye on the motley crew, who was supposedly planning to end it. But even as their little secret backer or whatever, the dude had like 3 lines. Don't get me wrong, I love a side of mystery with my superhero films, but yeah, I just thought that was pushing it. So anyway, Ares' old ass is like, I can make a costume too. How did he get so old? I thought he was about to fashion himself some kind of battle wheelchair or something. What kind of god ages like that? I guess his time for finding, Wonder Woman was limited. Either way, I usually hate when villains don't show up to the last 8 minutes of a movie, but like I said, I also really didn't like this character as the villain. Number 11. So Steve sacrifices himself to prevent the Germans from unleashing Dr. Poison's latest concoction. Who cares? I didn't like him anyway. Number 12. Ares, the god of haters, says mankind is inherently evil but admits to helping them create weapons of mass destruction. So he just wants to let everyone kill each other and he wants Wonder Woman's help. And according to him, then they'll just live together in quote unquote paradise. I have no idea how having the entire planet to yourself with no one but your brother is paradise. But Diana flashes back to her boyfriend who just sacrificed his life for the greater good. And she's like, nah, fuck you. And that brings us to number 13. Of course, there's an epic fight scene. So let me first note overall, I could have used a little more action in this movie. That's not exactly a dislike though, because when there was action, I really enjoyed it. And that is the biggest like for me in this movie. I really enjoyed the fight scenes. But honestly, most of these origin comic films can be a little boring to me. So anyway, the final fight scene was everything I expected it to be, as far as, CGI and just what to expect. Of course, Diana would suddenly be a pro with her powers to the point that she could defeat the one god that defeated all the other gods. I get that only a god can kill a god, but I think a more experienced god who didn't just find out he was a god 5 minutes ago really would have whooped her ass. Number 14. So apparently killing Ares does end the war. I don't know. Or perhaps destroying the lab and all the gas and a lot of the German soldiers is what ended the war. I don't know, but the fucking war is over and now everyone is celebrating. And the moral of this story, according to Wonder Woman anyway, is that she can't really save mankind. They're dark and evil, just like her mama said they were. But they don't have to be. It's up to them. They have to choose. We already knew this, but Wonder Woman had to figure this out. But somehow she concluded that only love can save the world. Okay, whatever, Wonder Woman. Sounds a little oversimplified, but I guess. So wrapping it up here, a few things I may or may not have left out. Like I said, I could have used a little more action and less dialogue. During the first half of the movie, I was actually pointing out dialogue they could have done without as it was occurring. The costumes I thought were great. The acting, was okay. The score was cool. I love Wonder Woman's music. The plot was okay, logical, but nothing new. I do like Gal Gadot. In the end, I really enjoyed the movie though. I want to give it a strong 7. So thanks for listening. Follow me on Twitter at MovieBuffChick1. Like and subscribe. Thanks.